In 1 Corinthians chapter 11, Paul was addressing the church concerning a particular practice when they came together in communal worship. And what he did was he said that when coming together to worship, that men should never cover their heads when they pray or prophesy. However, when the women should come in and worship, that they should always cover their heads when they pray or prophesy. And the reason he based that, he made that particular statement was on the principle of order in divine relationships. And that's what he said, that the man is the head of the woman, the Messiah is the head of the man, and God is the head of Messiah. So what he did was he set forth a spiritual order, especially that order should be practiced and maintained in the Christian family and visibly seen when we come to worship. And how is that seen? When there's praying going on, or when someone is, say for instance, exercising a spiritual gift. And Paul here called it what? Prophesying. All right. But the point that I want to make is today is this. He says, well, why is it necessary that the woman should cover her head when she prays? And it's in verse number 10. Therefore, the woman ought to have a symbol of authority on her head because of the angels. That's what I want to talk about. What does he mean when he says because of the angels? Without going into all of the details, you should be very much familiar with the rebellion of Satan and how he led 1/3 of the angels in rebellion against God. But what you have to understand is the issue has to deal with God's sovereignty and the unwillingness of Satan with those angels to submit to God's sovereignty. Let me explain. As the creator of all things, God has and maintains the sovereign right to tell that thing that he has created what he wants it to do, how he wants it to do, how he wants it to serve, and whatever other details God wants to add. Why? Because he is the God of creation. He is the God that made that thing. He is the creator, and that thing is what is created by God. And by right, natural right, it should always obey its creator. So therefore, when God created the angels, he gave them the authority that he wanted them to have, and the place and whatever service he wanted them to have. But that was not good enough for Satan. And of course, that's why we have the rebellion. So fast forwarded, who knows how many thousands of years later, God created something much lower than the angels. What was it? He created a man, and he also created him a counterpart. It's not good that the man should be alone. Let's make him someone to help him. And we see that same idea coming out at this very point in 1 Corinthians 11, when Paul said, for the man was not created for the woman, but the woman was created for the man. So here's the point. That's when we deal with what? The order of relationships. And so that's why he said, and this order, or in other words, the woman should always acknowledge this order, her submission to the male authority in the church, especially, or should I even say notably, to her husband in particular. But she should always acknowledge this submission to this divine order in the church when she does what? When she covers her head. Because in covering her head, now let's look at verse number 10. It becomes a lesson to angels, whether they're good or bad, that you should always be in submission to whom the Lord has told you to remain in submission. Or in other words, angels, remain in submission to God, and let the women teach you these lessons as they remain in submission to their husbands or to the male authority in the church. Did you know that? All right, guys. Thanks for stopping by. And by the way, be careful to hit that subscription, and always be careful to hit that notification button. We'll catch you the next time on Did You Know?